Super Bowl 58, week 22 of the NFL season, our final week of the 2024 season. This is your Sharp Squares podcast. I'm your tour guide, Eric Glazier. I am joined, as I always am, by everyone's favorite fellow degenerate, Greg Roth, and the ambassador, David Eby. We're going to have a different kind of show today. We've collected a lot of information for you, hopefully to save you a lot of time here as you're down to your final 48 hours or so before you place your final Super Bowl bets. Last week, the Sharps in aggregate, 2 weeks ago, the Sharps in aggregate were 46.7%. Our medal games were 0-1. We were 1-1 for the season, and you could put a ball on this. The Sharps, 53.4%, medal games, 57.6%, and our picks were 56%. Okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. I'm bringing in everyone's favorite fellow degenerate to tell you who took who on the sides, and you probably know most of the shows you've been listening to, they're not taking sides. Then we will aggregate some props for you. We're going to give you trends for you. We're going to aggregate some trends for you. We also took the handicapping highlights for the actual game and put those together for you. And then we'll also have at the very end a little bonus pick from the prop professor himself. So let's get started and bring in, and I'll make an introduction so we can play the music. Our final time for the season, I introduce you to the one and only, everyone's favorite fellow degenerate, the Greg Roth.
Eric, thank you so much. Only 5 picks total from our Sharps on the side, as you noted. I'm going to just give them to you who picked each team. Whale Capper, Adam Chernoff, Mike Lombardi. They all picked San Francisco. On the Chiefs, Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik. That's it. So no medal games, barely even a score in the system, Eric. Barely, though, the system does pick San Francisco. Barely. As a pick, barely. Let alone medal status, which is might as well be miles and miles away. So I don't know that we have a pick. We do have to make a pick in our pool. We are leading that pool. And we'll probably take in information between now and the deadline on Sunday before we make the pick. But if we had to make it today, we would lean slightly to the 49ers, only because we're at -1.5. And so we have some slight line value. Did I summarize that well for you?
Perfectly. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else to say. What we're going to do here, though, guys, is we got a bunch of side plays from a bunch of writers and some of them, I don't know if they're sharp or not, from VSiN. So we're going to rattle those off for you. Some of these guys are actually, you'll recognize, and you're in our algorithm. A lot of them are not. But we figured we got to provide some service to you for our loyal listeners here in the final week. So, Greg, why don't you rattle off everyone we have collected from VSiN who is on the Chiefs?
And by the way, there's a lot of them. 20 Sharps or journalists or writers or podcast hosts pick the Chiefs from VSiN and their vast network. And here you go. Judd Edlow at +2.5, Steve Fezzik at +2, Josh Applebaum at +2.5, Matt Brown at +2, Mike Somich at +2, Nick Whalen at +1.5, Mike Randall at +2.5, Will Hill at +2, Kelly Blyden at +2.5, Bill Krackomberger at +3. Good luck, Bill, getting that line. And then the rest of the following 10 Sharps all picked the money line, the Chiefs on the money line. Thor Nystrom, Femi Abemefe. Did I do that right, Eric?
I think you did.
Not bad. Not bad. See what happens if you practice 50 times in the mirror. Tom Casale, Tanner Kern, Zachary Cohen, Brad Evans, Chris Farley, Aaron Halterman, Cody Decker, and Billy Ward, all on the Chiefs. 20 Sharps total, 10 of them on the money line on the Chiefs. VSiN picks on the 49ers, much leaner. Only 3. Ian McMillan, he's at -1, which of course you can't get, I don't think, at least not as we're broadcasting on Friday evening. Bruce Marshall and Drew Dinsick, the Whale Capper, also picked the 49ers on the money line.
Well done. All right, we're going to now hit you with some trends. Then we're going to bring in the handicapping highlights for the game. Then we'll lead into some collection of props from 3 different sources, and then we'll hand it off to the professor, and then we will say goodbye. Here we go, guys. From Bet Labs, since 2008, underdogs in the Super Bowl are 9-7 straight up, but 11-5 ATS. Favorites in the Super Bowl are 36, 20, and 21 straight up. And the winner of the Super Bowl is 48-7 ATS. That's per Evan Abrams, who's also part of BetLab. This is my favorite one, Greg, and I know you put this in here. You did a hell of a job producing this week. This is the most actionable trend in this host's humble opinion that we have this week. In the past 10 years, the under is 97, 66, and 1, or 60% in NFL games that Bill Vivinovich has refereed. And he is, in fact, reffing the Super Bowl. Now, you may say he doesn't make all the calls. How does he control all of that? I don't know, but that's a pretty big 60%. That's a pretty big swing over a huge data sample. So take it for what it's worth. I'll move on. In the Kyle Shanahan era, the 49ers, as a playoff favorite, are 6-0 and 4-2 ATS. The second half under is 18-2 in Chiefs games this year. Favorites are 1-10-1 against the number versus Mahomes. Favorites not doing well versus Patrick Mahomes. And as we are recording, 31% of the bets right now are on the Niners -2, and that's per bet MGM. The ambassador, come on in.
Thank you very much, Eric. I've got some trends and angles from Ralph Michaels, and you can find these at the 15-minute and 30-second mark of the Bet On It podcast. Shortest touchdown under 1.5 yards has hit 4 straight years and is 7-1 in the last 8. The longest touchdown under 48.5 yards has hit 4 out of the last 5 games and 9 out of the last 12. Fumbles under 1.5 have hit 6 straight years. Team with the higher winning percentage is 1-14 against the spread in the last 15 games. That would be San Francisco in this game. The number 1 seed, San Francisco, again playing a non-number 1 seed, is 2-9 straight up in the last 11. The Super Bowl favorite, San Francisco, in the last 18 games is 5-13. And I should say that's the Super Bowl favorite in general, not San Francisco specifically, but they are the favorite in this Super Bowl. In the last 18 games, the Super Bowl favorite is 5-13. That's 27.8% against the spread. And teams that won back-to-back road games to get to the Super Bowl are 7-0 against the spread. And that would apply, of course, to the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, let's get into the game. Let's do the handicapping synopsis for an accumulation of some of the handicaps for the actual side play. We're going to do it this way. Ambassador, you're going to read us Ross Tucker. I'll bring in the Steve Fezzik rationale. Greg, you're going to bring in the whale capper who's on San Francisco. Dave, you're going to come back and then tell everyone what Mike Lombardi said and why he's on San Francisco. And I will jump in with the timestamps. Sound good? Let's do it.
Sounds good. Okay, so Ross Tucker, he made his pick on last week's show. That was the January 30th episode of the Even Money podcast, in case you want to look that up. And he said that he thought Kansas City was clearly the better team in all 3 of their playoff games. In fact, he thought the Bills and Ravens were lucky to stay as close as they did. And he threw out a couple of examples to back up his point. The McCole Hardman fumble out of the end zone when he almost scored the touchdown. And then the Rashee Rice, who caught a touchdown, but then it was called back because of a holding call. So those games could have been a lot worse for the Chiefs' opponents. And Ross also thought San Francisco was the worst team in both of their playoff games. He points to Josh Reynolds dropping a 4th down pass that could have made a difference in that game, and Brandon Ayuk making the very fortunate catch off of the defender's face mask as evidence to support his position. He thinks KC's a better team and is going to win this game. Quote, and you're going to give me 2 points? That's a 2-unit bet, unquote.
Steve Fezzik is also on Kansas City. His rationale was the look ahead line opened at San Francisco -3. That got gobbled up by the pros. Then it's kind of stabilized at -2.5. He thought San Francisco looked bad against Detroit and Kansas City, went into Baltimore and beat the best team in football. So if San Francisco is -2.5, if that was correct last week, it can't be close to correct this week. We're getting almost the same, i.e. -2, and this game should be a pick 'em. Fez actually makes San Francisco a small favorite, and he also put 2 units on the Chiefs at, it says -2 here. Then he must have been getting some odds. I'm assuming that's +2. There was a typo.
Correct.
Guys, a whale capper. He likes the 49ers. He says he doesn't really know how the Chiefs will hold up versus the 49ers pass rush because KC was ahead for so much of the Ravens game. Also, the Chiefs offensive line might not be as strong as people think. On the other side of the ball, the Chiefs can't defend the zone run, and the 49ers are an excellent zone running team. This ability to run the ball could lead to second or third in shorts. If the 49ers get going early and create a positive game state, that could lead to their defense being more aggressive and attacking the box. I have to say, I also am trying to get into a positive game state. With the pass rush attacking Mahomes, the Chiefs will have to depend on wide receivers 2, 3, and 4, and that's not an explosive, viable option, and that could end up causing some mistakes from the Chiefs.
GM Shuffle, Mike Lombardi. Now, of course, he's on the 49ers. He used to work for the 49ers. Conflict of interest, you be the judge. Now, he's counting on Kyle Shanahan to take a page out of Buffalo's playbook, which has had success against the Chiefs. He says the 49ers will spread the Chiefs out wide and try and run up the middle. If the Niners keep their formations tight, Kansas City can time up their blitzes much easier, he says. Can't see the 49ers playing bad for a third straight game. And he also says that San Francisco needs to bench Chase Young, or the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco, will run all over Chase Young and the rest of the 49ers. Timestamps, even money, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, or 18 minutes and 11 seconds from the January 30th pod. Matchbook, 8 minutes and 10 seconds, and GM Shuffle, 42 minutes and 40 seconds.
Good stuff. We're going to cover some props now from VSiN, the Dream Preview, and Bet on It. I'm going to rattle off the VSiN props. Then we'll have Greg rattle off the Dream Preview props, and the ambassador will close things off with the Bet on It props. So from VSiN, these are plays on MVP of the game. Mitch Moss says Harrison Butker is 410 to 1. Makes sense. The Whale Capper has Brock Purdy at +230. Will Hill has Deebo Samuel at 35 to 1. And Powell Howard has Isaiah Pacquiao at 30 to 1. Some miscellaneous props from VSiN. Team to score first and win the game? No. So the team that scores first won't win the game, says Paulie Howard. Bet that at +145. Steve Fezzik is betting the shortest drive to be over 55 seconds at -130. Dustin Swedelson says the first possession to score a TD from a running back or fullback is +130 to grab that. And Nate Lundy's advising the Chiefs to win the game after trailing at +230. I like that one.
Props from the Dream Preview. These are general props from each sharp from RJ Bell. Brock Purdy under 31.5 pass attempts. KC Q4 money line at -105. I like that prop. Purdy +13.5 rush yards versus Patrick Mahomes. I guess Purdy versus Mahomes and rush yards, you get Purdy +13.5. And then Q3 under 9.5. Third quarter under 9.5 +114. That's from RJ Bell. That's very specific prop there. I'd like to hit a handicap on that third quarter prop. From Steve Fezzik, San Francisco defense under 2.5 sacks at -140. Largest first half lead over 9.5 -150. And Travis Kelce under 72 receiving yards. Those 3 from Steve Fezzik. From AJ Hoffman, Patrick Mahomes under 265 passing yards. Travarius Ward under 4.5 tackles. and San Francisco first quarter over 3.5 -102. San Francisco first quarter over 3.5 -102 from AJ Hoffman. These props, from Scott Seidenberg, both teams rush TD. Yes, both teams rush TD plus 125. Second half under 24.5 -118. Any team to score 30 points, no. Either team is going to reach 30 points, no, -130. Shortest TD under 1.5 yards, -135.
Okay, now we've got some props from Bet On It. First from Andy Lang. This is at 23 minutes and 20 seconds. Mitch Wishnowsky, longest punt over 55.5 yards. That's -110. Team to score last, Kansas City at -110. And San Francisco players with a rushing attempt over 4.5 players. That is an even money payoff. And then they went over their best bets at the 29-minute and 30-second mark. Kelly's best bet, shortest touchdown under 1.5 yards. Teddy Cover's best bet, Brock Purdy over 12.5 rushing yards at -120. And then JR, his best bet was the first half over 23.5 points.
All right, final prop, a collection of insights from all of our notes that's put together by our producer, Elon Weismark, better known as the Propfessor, and we like calling him Propfessor Chaos because you just never know which direction his play is going to go. He lost last week. We're due for a win this week. I'm going to bet it blindly. I don't even know what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Propfessor Chaos.
Prepare, little town. Prepare for the greatest supervillain you've ever seen, Professor Chaos!
What's better than being with my Sharp Squares producers as we prepare for this Super Bowl? All right, guys, we're going to play a 3-leg parlay this week with Kittle and McCaffrey. I'll give you the details after the handicap. Here we go. Greg Cosell this week on The Herd noted that the 49ers often use reduced splits, positioning their wide receivers close to the formation. Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo is known for blitzing his corners more than any other team, though. So with the corners closer to the formation, Cosell anticipates a significant number of corner blitzes in the upcoming game. However, on the GM shuffle with Mike Lombardi, he expressed more confidence in Shanahan than Cosell did. Lombardi believes Shanahan will opt for a strategy of spreading the Chiefs out wide and running up the middle to prevent their corners from getting close to the formation. And now, if the Niners are successful in spreading the formation, this will also mean their wide receivers are out of their usual positions, and Kittle, who is closer to the formation, will become a bigger target for Purdy. I'm going to parlay these things together, for in some places you can find it as a no-sweat parlay. Either way, here are my 3 legs. I love Kittle, 50-plus receiving yards, McCaffrey, 100-plus rushing yards, and a McCaffrey anytime touchdown. This brought the odds to just over 4-1. Now, if you like the Niners to win, it's hard not to look at the 4.5-1 odds on McCaffrey, as I could see Shanahan not wanting Purdy to lose this game for him. And if spreading the formation works out, McCaffrey could be in store for a big game. I know all of my Sharp Squares producers will invest with me. Let's get it, my friends.
All right. That is a wrap. Thank you to our production team for a great 22 weeks of stellar content. Incidentally, they collected a bunch of props, totals, all kinds of information that we didn't cover on the show. We didn't have enough time. That's in the Discord channel. Greg, this was your best week of production. I don't know how well you did on the show co-hosting, but it was your best week of production. Well done. Great working with you as usual. You are the key to my giving me the energy to do this every year. And the ambassador, the best kind of free agent pickup. We picked him up from the Dream Team, and great job co-hosting. So thank you for your participation and your help producing, Dave. To everyone, thanks for listening. Hope you use the information wisely this week. And remember, none of us are truly sharp. But this is your Sharp Squares podcast.
Good luck out there.